Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today's video, as you probably have figured out, is a book haul. This is a long delayed video. I have had a few books in my possession for a bit since Christmas time that I could have shared, but I just didn't have enough books. And now that my birthday has come and gone, I got a few gift cards that I have now used to purchase a few more books. So I have a healthy stack here to show you. I will begin with the books that I got around Christmas time and then work my way up to what I've acquired most recently. The first book I have to show you is actually one that you have seen on my channel before. I featured it in a video about books that I really wanted to read in 2018, and it's Chernobyl Prayer by Svetlana Alexievich. This is actually a book that Les gave me for Christmas, and it's one that's been on my TBR for a long time. I'm definitely excited to read it, and this one actually won the Nobel Prize in Literature a number of years ago, and it is an oral history from the people and the doctors and the scientists and the community leaders who were present for the Chernobyl disaster when it occurred. So this is going to be a very in-depth dive, just with me perusing some of the pages. Seems like it'll be a bit of a challenge at points to read, but something that'll be very eye-opening. I do know a bit about the Chernobyl disaster, so I have a bit of a background, so being able to get a very specific picture from people who were there experiencing it in that moment, rather than me looking at it, you know, so many years later, that'll be really nice. So I am excited to pick this one up when the time comes. The second book I have is On Trails, an Exploration by Robert Moore. This is a nonfiction book, and it is inspired by the author's hike of the Appalachian Trail. While he was hiking, he got thinking about all different kinds of trails in the world. Over the last 7 years, he explored this idea of trails and looked at everything from an ant trail to long-lost Cherokee trails to the interstate highways to the internet, and just the impact it has on our world. This is something that I had seen around, but it was more of an impulse buy with a gift card that I had. I have read a lot of things about the Appalachian Trail, so that sort of pulled me in, and then hopefully I will also learn some cool stuff at the same time. The last book that I picked up around Christmas time is another one that a lot of you will recognize, and it is Illuminated, the first book in the Illuminated Files trilogy. This one is by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, and it is chunky, but it's gonna fly by because it's one of those books where everything is sort of written in a fun style. I don't even remember what the correct term is, but everything's like internet conversations or reading documents or pictures of people. So it's one of those ones I'm gonna fly through. I've always really enjoyed reading books like this. This is a young adult book. They don't really make a lot of grown-up books that have fun stuff like this, but to have a young adult book that I've heard so much about, sounds like it'll be worth my time to check it out. This is a sci-fi book. It takes place in the year 2575, and it sounds like things have kind of gone to shit. We follow two characters who happen to be ex-boyfriend and ex-girlfriend, and they are put in this situation where they're going to have to work together. Sounds like some AI is turning against them, there's a plague, and just the people in charge aren't telling anyone what's going on. So sounds like our two main characters are going to be working together to figure out what exactly is going on. And I am aware that the other two books in this series have come out. Obsidio is the most recent one, and Gemina before that, and assuming I like this, I will definitely go on to read the other ones because it seems like it'll be pretty easy to get through, and it also sounds like it'll be fun. The remaining books I have to show you, the last 5, were all acquired for my birthday. The first one is actually another book that Les gave me, and it is Hidden Cities, Travels to the Secret Corners of the World's Greatest Metropolises by Moses Gates. It says, up in here, it says, a memoir of urban exploration. So it's another nonfiction book about a guy who has always been into urban planning, and he's a bit more of a daredevil than I am, and he goes into those places that you're not supposed to go, where they always have the no trespassing signs, you could potentially get arrested, sneaks past those signs and just explores. And I know there are people out there who do this all the time. It's a huge hobby of a lot of people's. I'm a little too much of a scaredy cat to ever do it, but it's exactly the kind of thing that I would enjoy reading about. And Les actually sent me a little note when she sent me this book, and she did say that she did a thorough look on my Goodreads to make sure I haven't read this before, and she was correct. I have not read it yet, so I think that was a really good pick on her part, and I'm looking forward to being able to read this at some point in the near future. Next, I have American War by Omar El-Akkad. This one is another one that I have heard a ton about. This was definitely a book that I picked up because of the buzz around it. This takes place in the not too distant future. The year is 2074, so not that far away, and it follows a woman who is born in what we know as Louisiana, but she's 6 years old when the second US Civil War takes place. So it's following her experience in surviving in this second Civil War. Her family has to go to this refugee camp in the United States, and then she meets this man, and it sounds like she's going to have a very interesting effect on her. It says transformed into a deadly instrument of revenge. I have no idea what that means, but the rest of the premise sounds really intriguing, so I'm willing to give it a shot. I really like the idea of a second Civil War and what that might mean for the United States, and I've heard a lot of really good reviews of this, so I am interested to check it out for myself. This next book is one that I have been so excited to read for a really long time, and it came out in hardcover first, obviously, and I remember seeing a bunch of people from the UK who were getting this book and reading it and really liking it, and I loved their cover. And then they released the paperback and it didn't have the same cover, but that's okay. This one's pretty good too. It's Another Day in the Death of America, a chronicle of 10 short lives. So this cover's still pretty good. We got the police tape and whatnot, but what I liked about the cover of the hardback edition was that it really was a poignant way to show what the story was about. So this is written by Gary Young, and it is nonfiction, and it's taken one day in the United States. I believe it's November 23rd, 2013, and it tells 10 different stories about 10 different people that died from gun violence. And what I liked about that UK cover was it was white, and it had the, the title on it, but it also had 10 just bullet holes in the white paper. I mean, it looked like the bullets had been shot through the cover, and I just thought that was so good. And then they came out with the paperback, and but anyway, enough about that. I've just wanted this book for so long, and then to finally have it is great, and this is one that I really want to try and read soon, just because it has been on my TBR for so long, and stories like these are extremely relevant these days. It's just the kind of thing that I really want to read about. All right, now we're completely changing it up, going in a very different direction. The next book I have is Lair of Dreams by Libba Bray. This was my discount find. I found this hardcover for $6. So it was worth it, Like, even a paperback isn't $6. So I was like, okay, I'll get the hardback because it's so cheap. This is the second book in the Diviners trilogy, I think. I know there's going to be a third book. Maybe there's going to be more. But this one is about a young woman who has a special power, and there are other people that also have these powers. They're called diviners. The first book was called The Diviners, and we follow this young woman. Her name is Evie O'Neill, and she's living in 1920s New York City. So it's a very fun setting, and I am not entirely sure where the story is going to go. I can't say too much because I don't want to spoil the first book, but I did enjoy the first one. I do have a review of it on the channel, and since I saw this for such a bargain, I figured I should probably get it and read it before I completely forget what happened in the first book. But it sounds like now that there's a a lot of magical stuff going on, things are going to get elevated to a whole nother level, and we'll probably meet some more diviners, meet some more bad guys, and see where that takes us. The last book I have to show you kind of feels like a textbook. It's very big, very floppy, very heavy. It's Blood in the Water, The Attica Prison Uprising of 1971 and Its Legacy by Heather Ann Thompson. This one is pretty self-explanatory on what it's about, but Heather Ann Thompson spent a number of years researching this, hence the size, and I have a feeling this is going to be a very in-depth look at the Attica Prison Uprising and who was involved, who survived, didn't survive, who was prosecuted, who wasn't prosecuted, and how that has affected everything over the last 40-something years at this point. This is going to be a very intense read. Just flipping through it, there's a lot of information in here. It's dense, but I have heard really good things, and it's something that I want to learn about. I am aware of the Attica Prison Uprising. I feel like people in general have heard of it, but they don't know the circumstances, they don't know what has happened since then, what it might have changed or might not have changed. So I will be able to get a lot of that information from this. This is going to be one of those books that it's going to be a chunk at a time. It's not one of those books that you pick up for a readathon, or at least not one that I would pick up for a readathon, but still I think it'll be really interesting and I'm going to learn a lot. And those are all of the books that I have acquired in the last few months, Christmas until now. If you have read any of these books, let me know what you thought of them down below, or if you're interested in reading any of them as well, you can let me know which ones you've also had your eye on for a while. As always, all of our links are down in the doobly-doo. You can check those out if you feel so inclined. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you later.